Peter and Jon continue to be away. I'm hosting today with Mikey. We're going to talk about a story that Peter's going to kick himself for missing, which is why now is the time for privacy on today's Not So Critical update. I always make fun of Peter for not paying attention to that not recording sign, and I just like talked right over it, and he's not even here.
Totally did.
We'll just pretend it never happened. Don't tell anyone. Shh. So this is this article goes to a discussion that Peter and I have all the time, that not only is tracking not effective, it's not even necessary, and it could be a competitive advantage to not do it. Companies could be better companies, more profitable, more productive, just all around good guys if only they would stop tracking. And I don't buy it. Do you want to go deeper into each of the arguments? What do you have any initial thoughts, Mikey?
My initial thought is I agree with you. I don't buy it. There's a lot of money to be made. I agree that we should seek privacy, but I don't believe that businesses are going to be more profitable if they adhere to these rules.
Yeah,
unless
I think
they're Apple, of course.
Well, yeah, sure, Apple. It's a kind of a big example. I think there's a sense that like it could be a competitive advantage. You could tout that you're not doing tracking, and that will bring people to you. I don't buy that at all. Like that's not what compels people to purchase. Like you'll get maybe some people, you'll get maybe some virtue signaling from the market. But people aren't going to spend money on that just because you're not tracking them.
Well, there is applications on the rise that are like VPNs and that type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say they're growing in popularity. But even they sell your data, even though they claim privacy, like that. Like people are becoming more aware.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that businesses touting that they respect your privacy are going to. I don't know. It seems like it's untrue in most cases, because any modern business, like this is how you have to operate almost, because it's the competitive landscape against everyone else.
Well, so one argument is about the inaccuracy of the data. And I don't think that's as big an argument as people play it out to be. But I will say it's easy to be lazy as a marketer and overly depend on the data. I think the data can give you a false sense of confidence in how good your marketing is, and sometimes it can even help you do better marketing. I do think there's an argument to say that if you didn't have data available and you were forced to be a little bit more creative and a little bit more focused on the context of your advertising and on the quality of your advertising, that would make you a better marketer and could potentially get you better results. I think the statistic, the numbers, the data can be a little bit of a crutch. Do I think it's enough of a benefit to just give it up? Like, are you going to make that much more money not doing it? No, because if you are that good a marketer that you can get by without the data, you're just going to be that much better with the data.
Yeah, exactly. Like the data is there to inform and back up hypothesis that you have or that you're testing or whatever. It's valuable. It has value for sure.
Now, if it was gone, does that mean business would fall apart? All marketers would be out of jobs? No, we'll figure it out. Maybe it's figuring out other ways to track. Maybe it's just figuring out how to actually be good marketers. Whatever. Like we'll deal with it.
Or better people or better companies, corporations, corporate entities, better citizens of Earth type of thing.
Right. We'll deal with it, but whatever. If it's out there, I want it. No,
but it
unilateral disarmament.
But it is true that a lot of companies, there are companies that are selling privacy tools, and then there are companies touting that they are the privacy company. Apple obviously is the biggest example, but there's also DuckDuckGo, which is mentioned in the article. There's search engines that are, and there's Brave. Brave has like their own search engine that's supposedly more private than DuckDuckGo. I don't know.
I
They
thought
can.
Brave used DuckDuckGo. Is that not true? Maybe not. I could be confused
I
about that.
think they use their own search engine now.
Okay.
So there are companies that are getting recognition for being a privacy respecting company, but you can't just jump on that bandwagon and expect to be like held up in that same standard. And if you're touting that, you need to be practicing what you're preaching and not
Yeah.
track. But I imagine that that's going to be very hard for most companies.
And it's a near impossible standard. I mean, so DuckDuckGo had a story not long ago. They got trashed because they were making tracking exceptions in the browser, not in the search engine for Microsoft, who they had a contractual agreement with. Some podcasts, this one, were brutal to them, and I think to some extent it's counterproductive, right? Like, these are people who want privacy, want to encourage good behavior, and if a company doesn't do it perfectly, they get brutally, viciously attacked. And you could say, well, you know, we hold everybody to the same standard. They deserve it just like everybody else. But I think there's some logic to keeping your allies happy, right? You don't have to give them a pass, but maybe temper your speech a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. If you're going to be the privacy company, you have to be the privacy company or not get caught not being the privacy company. It's like, yeah, I mean, Microsoft gave us a shit ton of money to do this, but you know,
Right.
we're a new company, we're young, we need money.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then you're not the privacy company. You need to be quiet about it.
So the reasons they give are general awareness, like as you talked about, the market is kind of becoming more aware of the tracking, taking more actions to protect themselves, become increasingly negative view of surveillance capitalism, just from being aware of what it is, which is inherently negative. Privacy pushes in technology, particularly from Apple, some of the other companies that you mentioned. I talked about the industry awareness of how inaccurate the data is. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of bad data out there, but I guess I want to say if you have enough data, some of it's bound to be good.
Yeah,
and a good analyst can figure that out.
Even if you have bad data, it's still valuable.
Yeah, for sure. As much as that would frustrate the privacy people, Peter, ethical conflicts, whatever.
Nobody cares. Everybody's an animal out here.
Right. Privacy laws. So privacy laws, I think, are the one thing that really will make a difference. And I guess, I don't know, maybe this is what I'm curious to hear from you is the more teeth there are in GDPR and some of the GDPR specifically now, if more companies adopt regulations like that put real penalties behind tracking, I think I'll just assert that that'll have an impact on the industry. Do you think that's a good way to go?
I don't think it's wise to give government any more jobs to do. Personally, privacy laws and like DNS filtering, like they do in Europe. And my understanding of GDPR is like if you hold the data in country, that's fine, right?
No, I think if you're serving users in a country, you are subjected to those laws. Is my understanding.
But as long as the data is of the user and their data is in the same country or in the EU, that's allowed.
Well, so from a data storage standpoint, possibly, but the issue has to do with like the compliance challenges as a marketer have to do with the explicit opt-in, affirmative opt-in, and like the right to delete policies and the information requests around them. Yeah, it doesn't really have to do, like, maybe there are restrictions on where the data can be stored, but it's complying with those kinds of things that are much more challenging.
Yeah, I think crafting laws around that is going to be difficult. I mean, our politicians are not known for their technical prowess.
But this is the only thing that's going to make a difference. The market's never going to revolt and say, I refuse to be tracked. They just want
the free market.
Cheap shit on Amazon.
The free market will win. The free market will win, Mike. You know this.
It will
correct everything,
but it'll win with a shitload of tracking. Like that's how the free market wins.
Yeah, they're like, what do you mean? We're already doing it.
Right. What's the problem?
What to do about privacy? Like privacy laws. I don't think that's going to fix anything. I
I
think it
think
may
it's the only
make
thing that could fix anything.
I think it may give governments more money because people will fail these standards, and as long as the governments can react and track, if the governments can track who is violating the laws, then they'll make a bunch of money. But other than that, I don't think it'll solve anything. Like it won't prevent people from being tracked. I think the onus is on the person, and perhaps there's a technology that's going to come along that's going to make it easier. Things like key pairs, like encryption. Like if every person, like if our social security number here in America was, our public key, and then we had the private key, and people were smart enough, I guess is a easy way to say it, to retain, their private key, keep it safe, then our privacy could be a little bit more secure because we could verify that the person on the other side of this conversation, transaction, view of a web page was who we thought it was, and we're only sharing data with them, and we can choose which data we are sharing.
So one, I am itching to push this days since blockchain was mentioned button. If John was here, I'd be all over it.
I didn't say blockchain, but yes.
You were awfully close. It would have been close enough if it was John.
Like dancing around it.
Dancing around it. So everything you said is true, but it requires knowledge, willingness, and desire, right? You're not going to get anywhere near a majority of the country, the world, internet users to understand, care, or be willing to go along with that kind of thing. I mean, God, I would put the over under probably at like 7%.
Yeah, but this is on an infinite time scale. Like I think this will happen eventually. And as people age out of the system, and become more familiar with technology from birth. If you notice who cares about privacy, like all the people buying these VPN apps are probably younger people that are like, whoa, there's all this stuff tracking me, and they are willing to download an application and install on their phone for some semblance of privacy. What was the other one you said? Knowledge, willingness, and what? Desire. So there's obviously a desire to not be tracked, and then the knowledge they have because they're doing it. But the people who don't have those things are, they're going to be here until they're not here anymore. But eventually, the rest of the people will, adopt privacy by default. And companies like Apple that have been like privacy, 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 they'll be like, oh well, yeah, Apple, I trust them with my stuff. But that's not the point. The point is not to trust Apple with your stuff because they're the privacy company. The point is to trust yourself with your stuff and share it in limited ways with people that you're willing to share it with. But we're not there yet. It'll be years and years, decades before we get there.